bit of an old wives' tale in sales that you should never ask closed questions. That closed questions are almost like a cardinal sin. I'm here to dispel that myth and saying that closed questions are actually can be very effective. We should open our sales calls with closed questions because they become a really nice follow-in to open questions. Here's an example of a very recent cold call that I've made to a prospect where I lead with some problems. I follow that up with a closed question to ask the prospect if they face any of these problems, which leads me nicely into then asking my open question. And I just want to play out in true sales call eavesdrop style what this actually sounds like and break this down. So here goes.
And spend a lot of time speaking to other VPs of sales in tech companies, and they commonly share with me two problems that they're facing. Number one is that they'd love to be spending more time listening to the conversations their salespeople are having with prospects, but they just simply don't have the bandwidth to listen to the right conversations at the right time to improve those and coach them to be better. The second challenge that they're running into is that they typically have a couple of top performer rock stars on their team who constantly have better close ratios, do higher deal sizes than the rest of the team, but they're really struggling to share what those guys do differently in their sales calls across the rest of the team. I'm going to assume that you're facing neither of those problems.
So there was my closed question. These are two problems that we solve. Do you face either of these problems? So there's my closed question. This is how the prospect responds.
Neither or either of those problems?
Does one of them sound more familiar than the other?
Probably the first, yeah.
The first. So more time listening to conversations to coach them. So what are you experiencing there exactly?
And there's my open question. So the prospect has said, actually, the first one sounds familiar. So there's the kind of the closed question was almost option one. And what I follow that up with is, okay, if you've got that problem, tell me more about that. What are you experiencing there? It's not nothing more complex than that. There's the open question to invite more dialogue and listen to how the prospect responds.
Well, every time that I do participate in a presentation or a bigger call, there are, I don't know, half a dozen different things that if we were doing that on a regular basis, that even our folks who've been here a while should be, that their responses, their phrasings, the way they, handle objections should be certainly better. But yeah, we just don't, there's 99% of the time they're making those presentations without me or without a manager, involved in the conversation. And
so the prospect then shares two problems. One is that when he does listen to conversations, there's multiple things, even with experienced folks, that could be better in those presentations and conversations. But the second problem he proactively shares is that actually he has such a lack of time that the amount of conversations or presentations he is exposed to is actually a very small number. I haven't had to probe him to give me those responses. I haven't had to dig deep. I just simply asked him to expand on the response to the closed question I started off by asking. And this leads into a productive, open conversation. So don't pay any attention to those people who tell you to never ask closed questions. Actually, start with closed questions, and the open questions just roll off the tongue so much better.